everyone. Welcome to Chant A Psalm A Day, everyone. Thanks for joining. It is, oh my goodness, 555. That's the angel numbers, 555. So we're thankful to be here today. Something it seems off with my internet. Greetings. Okay. I don't know what's happening. Let's see. Chat filter. No. Okay. All right. All right, so let's get started with our psalm today. See, there's like kind of a delay in my in there. I want to start off. I want to ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is right. It is almost the 6 a.m. hour, and the reason I say that is because, like the 6 p.m. hour, that could be, where a lot of frustrations kind of boil into. And then we have the 6 a.m. hour where we're getting up. And I got up this rise, and I always get up and I make my hot tea, right? I go into the kitchen, make my hot tea. And ever since my son has been here with me, I've been getting up to a kitchen that's not really, that hasn't been clean. And I am a type of person that strongly has the knowledge that cleanliness is next to goodness, right? It's right next to a fruitful abundance of goodness, right? You're going to have an abundance of goodness when you are clearing the path of clutter, when you're cleaning and putting away things. And there was a pot that was left on the stove. It was left there. It looked like it had food in it. Somebody used it and did not wash it out. And it's only two of us in here. So I got up, and I got up upset because I had to go in the kitchen and see a dirty pan left on the stove. Now my son is telling me it's not a big deal, it's just a pan, it's just and I told him it's not just that. It is the idea of not being aware of others. You're just thinking it's just you. Even when it was just me, I still kept the place clean and tidy. Maybe once or twice I would leave dishes, I'm tired, right? So I got up, and I got up upset, and I don't like getting up I don't like getting up in an upset way. I don't like getting up where I have to face a dirty kitchen. No, 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 no. A dirty kitchen is not a good thing to face. And even though one thing has been left out, it doesn't matter the extent of the untidiness or the lack thereof. It's about thinking about others. And yesterday the verse was just that. It was about thinking about others. The verse yesterday was about valuing others above yourself. So when you're living together with people, right, you're sharing a space, you have to be aware of the other person. And being aware of the other person is keeping the place tidy. So you don't even know that you were using the kitchen. You don't even know that somebody was in there because it's everything has been put away and it's clean and it's tidy. So I got up and I was upset about that. I was upset to the point where I popped off. Yeah, I did. And said things that wasn't nice. And then when I opened up the verse of the day, when I opened up the verse of the day, it spoke to me because it's coming from Ephesians 4:29, and it speaks, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. Only what is helpful, strengthening for building others up, according to others' needs, that the building up of others may benefit the listener." Okay, this is Ephesians 4:29. That may benefit the listener. So don't let any unwholesome, and I had to go to my son and I had to apologize and tell him, and I told him, don't let this happen again. Don't go drifting off to rest in a mess. Don't do that. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Let's see what happens. Let's see whether or not the maintenance and the sustaining of cleanliness is going to be something he is going to deal with, right? Let's see about that. So I love this because it spoke to me instantly. Because as I said, I got up upset because when I went to make my hot tea, the kitchen was not in order. Okay, it wasn't in order. So because it wasn't in order, it drew something out of me that was frustrated because I keep talking about the same thing over and over. It became angry. I was in an angry place because of the discord, of the disorder. It wasn't divine order, it was disorder. Okay? And it's not about being a germaphobe and being OCD. It's about putting things away after you use them. Okay? Cleaning your bed, making up your bed. Okay? My bed is made up, and you can see that it's made up. Okay? And I stress this with my children, and for some reason, my son, who's 27, is lacking in the department of putting things away, cleaning up behind yourself, like, a toddler. And I think it comes from me doing for him as opposed to him doing for himself. As a child, I'm talking about. I would, clean up after him and do this. So I never stressed it like I'm doing now. And I think this is the issue. When you wait to discipline or to tell a child something because you think they're so small, they don't know what you're telling them, it makes them have a sense of, I don't have to do that's not important, it's not a big deal. Because that's what he said to me when I told him. He said it's not a big deal. And he's not seeing it as a big deal. However, you have to look at the other person. It's a big deal for them So you're going to respect the other person. And that's what I'm trying to get him to see. That it's not about you, because he's very ego, it's about him. Everything centers around that, and everybody else is weird. And we shouldn't, we won't be that way, because it makes for a blockage, and it closes the door on our minds. Our minds need to be open. We need to have an open mind, and that open mind is going to reveal to us ourselves, because other people represent us. We are, when we see people, we seeing ourselves. There's something about ourselves that we see in other people, and that's the attraction, right? So the verse of the day: don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, right? Only what is going to be a strength for building others up, right? According to their specific needs, okay? According to their needs, because everybody's need is different. And that the listener benefits. When you listen, you know, you're gonna benefit, that you may benefit from this building up, okay, because you've listened. Listening is an important skill. Listening skills. Okay, repeat what I just said. That's how you listen, how I know you're listening. Repeat what I just said. That's how I know you're listening. So Ephesians 4:29 is what we're kicking off with. And I really like it because it spoke to me, because I got up, faced the kitchen, and I saw a little tiny roach. And that's what kind of spurred it off for me, because I've been talking about keeping the kitchen clean because of a higher reason, but now look at the lower reason that's coming crawling around because of that. So let's get cleanliness, okay? Cleanliness is important. So the verse of the day, we've kicked off with that because we want to make sure that we have a fullness of speech, a fullness of communication that's coming out of our mouths. We're not going to call someone up that we don't even know and curse them out on a voicemail. You know, we're not going to do that, because that voicemail is going to be there. It's not going to go away. What you've communicated in the voicemail is there. So instead of leaving a voicemail that's cursing someone out, one should leave a voicemail that is strengthening or building one up, you know, according to the needs that one has. And someone's needs may not be important because people are selfish. And that's what I told my son. That's a selfish behavior. When you are only thinking of yourself and your needs and disregarding someone else's, you know, this is where you fail, where you are short, where you have fallen short of the glory, because now you're not about others, you're about yourself. Okay, now me getting upset about the kitchen not being clean is a need that I have. I have a need for cleanliness. I have a need to be around people and live with people that are clean. That's a need I have. It's a very important need for me. especially as I get up in age. Okay. And that need, when that need isn't fulfilled or I don't see it around me, it causes the anger, it causes the burden of stress. It causes that. So, what do? I have to live by myself until I can find a one that is going to fulfill my needs. And my needs determine my tranquility, my calmness. And when you have a need and you have that, you need that need fulfilled, what does it do? What does it do? I'm trying to get this thing to stay on here. What does it do? So I am going to talk about my son. My son and I, we have the same birthday. When I turned 27 years old, okay, on the 27th, okay, on the 27th of this month, actually, on the 27th of this month, we share that. We share that with each other. And because we share that, it's even more a push to get my son on the right trajectory, because I lost one already. My first son passed away. And that I'm still grieving from that. Okay. And now the following year, this year, I'm grieving for my dad. So there's a grieving that is unexplainable. And in that grieving, I have found a need to express and chant a psalm a day going live. Going live. And the going live was because I didn't have anybody in my life that I could chant the psalm with or to. And I would chant the psalm, and people around me or who was with me at the time didn't like it, or not didn't like it, but they wouldn't listen to it. They wouldn't, they wouldn't participate in it with me, like, let's chant a psalm together. So when I look at the verse today, and the final word in the verse is listen. Because when you listen, you benefit. You're benefiting. The ones who listen are going to benefit. And Ephesians 4:29 speaks to that, because when you are building others up, when you are building others up. Blessed greetings of love and tranquility with massive gratitude for the Most High daily, El Sue. Thank you so much. Uh, Let me know when you get your box of your oils. People have already received it. So I'm just looking out to see that you receive yours. Today I'm focused on talking about my son, my second son, and I'm going to talk about him in relation to myself and in relation to discipline and order. Okay, my son is 27 and he lives with me now. He's moved with me to Maryland, and we're on the Eastern Shore. And he got a job. He started working at a job yesterday. So congratulations to him on finding a job in less than a month being here. So I'm happy for him. But there's an issue that we're getting into, him and I. And that issue is keeping the kitchen clean. Okay? Keeping his room clean. Oh, hallelujah. And we talk about in Ephesians building others up. Building others up according to their needs. So my son has a need. His need is he needs to be more tidy. He needs to be more tidy. He needs to, put away things after he uses them. He needs to put the toilet seat down after he, stuff like that. He sees as not a big deal for him. However, when we are looking at Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 to 4, that talks about in humility you value others above yourself. And then you don't do that. You don't value others above yourself, especially your mother. A mother is a very powerful person. When you disrespect your mother, things are not going to go right for you in your life. I'm telling you. So I got up this rise, went to, I have my hot tea, roasted roots. And there, the kitchen is untidy. There's a candy bar on the counter that's half open. There's a roach crawling around it. And there's a little pan on the stove that looks like somebody used it but didn't wash it out. And I got up upset. I got up like upset, really going off, where I was like, I'm done. I even started crying because I was upset. I was so angry at having to see that. Okay? So I opened the verse of the day and out popped Ephesians 4:29. And it said, don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. This is what I just was doing. Unwholesome talk came out of my mouth to my son about his not keeping the kitchen clean. And then it speaks of what you need to do. Instead of having unwholesome talk, you need to have talk that's going to be building up, not putting down. And I didn't put down. I didn't, I can't, well, I kind of did. I said, this is, you're nasty. What are you doing? I was upset. And we have to build others up according to their need. And my son's need right now is to be keeping himself tidy. And he has an issue with that, seriously. Because when he was a roommate, he was rooming with someone, the room I went, it was a mess. untidy. He was staying on campus in the dorm, untidy, just throwing things, just untidy. Like, things have a place. You need to put things in their place, because when you don't, those same things are going to put you in your place, and they're going to follow you. That untidiness is going to follow you, just like the peanut character, that ball of mess following him. We don't want that in our lives. We want to have our lives to be free of confusion. And when we are not keeping ourselves in order, but we have disorder, where can the divine order enter? That divine order is going to be like, I'm not going there, boom. I'm not going here, boom. That divine order is not going to be able to get through. And then you're going to have stress, you're going to be unhappy, you're going to be, all these things, because you're not keeping yourself tidy. So I told my son, I said, you know what? Every time you leave that kitchen in a mess, I'm not doing anything for you. Don't ask for anything, because you haven't valued me above yourself. You're just thinking about yourself, and I'm tired, I'm gonna that's all. And you're not thinking about the other person and speaking in yourself. That narrative in your mind going around needs to be, you know what? I'm not here by myself. This is my mother. She birthed me. She gave me life. Let me, clean up after myself. It makes her upset. I'm going to value her above myself. I'm tired. I don't want to put away the pan. I'm coming back to it, but I fell asleep. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to value others above myself and clean up this kitchen. I'm going to think about not my own interests, but the interests of others. And my mom is interested in a clean kitchen. I'm going to clean it up. Before my dad passed, that night before he passed, there was an argument. There was we were out on the deck, and my older sister was there. I was there. My mom and my dad was there. My older sister, I guess she had too much to drink or whatever. I don't know. That's what she had said. And I was disciplining her daughter, because her daughter was exposing her breasts. Okay. And I was, disciplining the daughter. And I may have, I didn't curse. I didn't go on in degrading way. I just said, you are, would you want to see me with my breasts out? And I took mine out. I don't know what I did, but it was an argument. It was, anyway, the details of that is kind of blurry. But I remember my dad being there and sitting there and listening to how my sister was attacking me, and talking about my PhD and whatever. And I said, it's not about that. It's about knowing that there's predators out there. And when you expose yourself, you want to be able to dress how you want to dress, but you have to realize that there's predators out there, and they're looking at children. Okay, I work with children and families. I've studied this. I know this. I'm an expert in this particular field. I don't know everything, but I know this particular field. So after the argument happened, I decided to mop the kitchen from the living room up to the kitchen to the outside, and I mopped, I swept and I mopped, I washed the dishes, cleaned up, and I swept and I mopped the kitchen. And what motivated me was the confusion. I wanted that gone. I wanted it cleaned away. So when my mom and dad woke up the next day, they would see a clean space. So that was the goal. And I valued them above myself. I was tired. I'm doing a summer workshop. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Don't you think I want to go to sleep and rest? But I put myself and my own interests aside to the interests of others. And the interest of others was my family, my parents, waking up in the next day to a clean place. Well, the next day wasn't a waking up to a, it was waking up to weeping and moaning and wailing. That's what I woke up to the next day. Weeping and wailing and moaning because of my dad's collapsing on the ground beside his bed and not getting up. So many things went through my mind. Was it the argument the night before that gave him his heart attack? What was it? Was it too much bleach that I was using that, filtered through to him? What? All these things coming to mind. So my point of that is returning now to my son. This is the communication to righteousness I'm having right now on behalf of my son. That my son will look at himself. He would look at himself and not look at me getting on him about keeping the kitchen clean. But he would look at himself. I really put that to the higher power of righteousness that is the beloved. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, because people need to know. Share this video. People need to know, because other people are going through this with their teenage children, not keeping the place clean because they were never taught that. I may have not been firm with that when my son was little. Now I'm seeing the results, that it's not something he is taking to heart seriously, that he must clean up after himself. I went into his bedroom. I gave him that. I'm giving him an opportunity and taking advantage of it, really. Went into his room. His laptop is on his bed. He's got all kinds of stuff on his bed, and he's sleeping on the bed with all this stuff. And I'm just like, wait a minute, what's happening? When we were in the Virgin Islands, we were in a little hot box. I'm thankful for it, that I had a place that I could spend time there in my, parents' house. But both of us were staying in there. It was a small space. It was hot. We couldn't cook in there. We couldn't, we didn't have a kitchen. We didn't have certain things. And he didn't keep it tidy then either. I said, if you're not able to keep this little space tidy, what are you going to do when we go to Maryland? Or is that going to be kept tidy? And look at what's happening now. So my communication is going to be about my son and lifting him up, lifting up my younger sister who's grieving for my dad, lifting up my mom who's a widow, grieving for my dad, lifting up folks who are in a despair or who are not fulfilling the needs or building others up. They're cursing folks. They're calling them names. They're not building others up. They're speaking unwholesome talk coming out their mouths, and this is from Ephesians 4:29. 4:29. Okay? And that's what I told my son. To whom much is given, much is expected. You've been given your own room. You've been given an opportunity to get a job in the United States. You've been given an opportunity to go back to school at the university where I'm at and get tuition remission because I work there. You have the opportunity to do so much. So because you've been given so much, much is expected of you. Much is expected of you. And as a child growing up in the Virgin Islands on St. John, my mom always instilled in us to clean before we do anything else. When Saturdays came, we couldn't sit and watch cartoons. I had a show I used to like, Dungeons and Dragons. And I wanted to watch that. They would go escape into this make-believe place. Anyway. And my mom is like, those people getting paid. They getting paid while you sitting there. You better clean up this plate before you sit down and do what you want to do. Do what you need to do first, right? According to their needs. This is what Ephesians 4:29. You building others up according to the needs. Do what you need to do first so you can do what you want to do later. You want to sleep? You want to go lay down? Well, guess what? Do what you need to do first. Don't go lay down and say, oh, I'm going to get back to it when let me give it a little few minutes of, no. Get up, get it done so that it's done. So that when you go take a rest and you get up, you see a clean place. It's a good feeling. So Ephesians 4:29 hits it. And we grew up, yes, with values, principles, and morals. We grew up with these ideologies and these way of life thinking. The generation today have fallen away from that because it's not them. Don't blame the youth, but blame the adults. I blame myself, right? For that. I blame myself. I blame me because my son wouldn't be leaving the kitchen a mess where I would have instilled that strongly in him when he was a child. So I take responsibility. I'm seeing my parenting results. The results actually of my parenting with your children. So when your children are grown and they grow up and they become adults and they're doing things, don't blame them, but say to yourself, you know what? This is the result of something that I did as a parent or something that I did not do as a parent. Yes. And one of my professors told me I can't blame myself because they're adults, they make their choices, right? And it's true. I feel that is also true, that they need to be more involved in themselves in living better and not be bitter with their parents about what they didn't do or did do. Because my son has some anger issues about that. He has anger issues that his dad is an older person, that I went with an older person. He has issues with that. He has issues with me being in relationships that weren't productive or that didn't gain anything for me. That's what he is talking about. However, I've gained a lot from failed relationships because I've learned lessons. He may not see those because he is not me, but I know what I've learned. And so he has some issues there with that. He has anger issues with me, actually. So that becoming better and living better, that is going to happen when the bitterness goes away. When you acknowledge that and stop being bitter and being better. So when he leaves a pot on the stove and doesn't clean up the kitchen, or leaves the toilet seat up when I got to go sit there and fall inside the toilet, when he does these things, it's a symptom of the bitterness towards me. It's that bitterness that he has towards me. And according to Philippians 2:3-4, he's not valuing me above himself. So yesterday verse, do nothing out of selfish ambition. Okay? Do nothing out of selfish ambition. Don't do something because you want something for yourself. Do something because you value others, right? And instead of looking at yourself, you're blaming someone else, and you never take accountability for your own self. And that's where people never get to heal from trauma from their childhood, because they're not taking accountability. I'm going to take accountability right now, today, on this channel, that I failed my children in some way. I did. And I'm glad hindsight is 2020, because I can see that now today when I look at my children, and I can see the results of my parenting. Okay? I can see the results of that. And my daughter, okay, the youngest one, is thriving because of education. Not just because of me, but because of education. She went through an education process. She's been through counseling. She's been through classes that has given her the ability to find herself and who she is in the world, with anything that happened to her as a child that I may have done, that I may not have remembered. She even reminded me of something, and I was like, wow, I didn't know. I apologize. I'm accountable for my actions. I want to be accountable, because that's how you're going to be able to flow in this creation. When you're free, when you're light like a feather, you don't have anything holding you down and bringing you down into sadness and depression. You're rising up out of the ashes, man. We're rising up out of the ashes, and we're becoming accountable for who we are and how we treat people. We're not going to be bitter. We're going to be better. Better people. Like this channel, subscribe to this channel, people, and share this video. Because there's nobody else out there on YouTube doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it. Translating scriptures. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to believe in God, Lord, and Jesus to listen to this channel, because it's about righteousness. Righteousness is what it's about. It's about being good to yourself and being good to others. So when we talk about chanting a psalm a day, we're chanting a psalm a day to keep the negativity away within ourselves, because that's where it begins. And then the negativity outside is attracting to that negativity inside of us that we tell ourselves. Stop telling yourself you're not good enough. Stop telling yourself nobody wants you. Stop telling yourself you're not valued. Stop telling yourself you're not worthy. I used to say that. I used to say, like, oh my God, I'm not worthy of you. Like, no, I am. I'm worthy of God's love, of righteousness. I'm worthy of the goodness of grace and compassion and mercy and kindness. I'm worthy of all of that. That is what's hugging me and holding me. It's even blessed when you have somebody physically there holding you. However, is that person the one? Is that person standing in love with you? Or have they fallen in love with you to the point where they want to control who you talk to? They want to control where you go. They want to control who you hang out with. That's a type of person who's fallen. And when we stand in love, we're going to not fall for anything or any foolishness or any confusion. I'm going to stand in love with my son. I'm standing in love with him, and I am going to build him up according to Ephesians 4:29. We're going to build each other up according to their needs. What's the need that my son has? He's untidy. Bottom line. Okay, he's untidy. He puts stuff in a drawer and just it's lost. He's not cleaning up after himself in the kitchen. This is what's happening. That he has a need. That's the need he has. To be clean, to be tidy, to be accountable for his behavior. Okay? And not being selfish, because that's what I told him when I got up, and I was kind of upset. Yes, I was upset. And I told him, I said, you're selfish. That's a selfish behavior. When you do not respect the home where you are resting your head and respecting the elder. I'm an elder. I'm not just your mommy. I'm an elder. I told my students, I said, I'm almost going to be 60. People are like, what? No, you're not. You do not look like that. Who are you? What are you? What do you eat? I want to know what you do, because when I get up there, I want to look like you. People look at my pictures from when I was 20 and say, my gosh, you look the same. You may have, gained some weight, but, you have the same face. And I attribute that to keeping in righteousness, in goodness, keeping myself in a good place. And getting up this rise, I was not in a good place. Seeing the mess, I was not in a good place. So the psalm today, as we shift over here to the psalm, let's shift over here to the psalm. And it's 65, Psalm 65. And let's see how related it is to everything I'm talking about, or how we can relate it to that. So I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable to what is righteous, what is goodness and mercy and love and kindness. So Psalm 65, verse 1. What is due to righteousness? Good words out of your mouth. That is song, melody, what people call praise. I call it melodious, harmonic pattern. Adulation to righteousness. That's in the righteous space. In that space, we call that righteousness God. We call that space Zion, right? And to righteousness shall vows be performed. That's who I'm going to perform my vow to. That's why I always speak of I'm married to righteousness. I'm performing my vows to righteousness. Righteousness, I vow to be good to myself. Righteousness, I vow to be good to others, right? I vow to not let any unwholesome talk come out of my mouth. Only what is going to strengthen for the building up of others, according to others' needs, right? I am going to perform my vows to righteousness. Oh, righteousness, listen. Righteousness listens to our words, to everyone. All flesh is going to come to do righteousness. When wrongness prevails against I, when people are wrong to me, when they don't put me and value me, right? The righteousness atones for these transgressions. Okay? Righteousness is going to set you in the right way. Right? And when inequities, when these things that are wrong are happening, or you are being wrong, or you're doing something wrong, like I did in this rise, getting up and getting upset at this kitchen that was a mess, right? I am going to atone for this transgression, opening my mouth in this unwholesome talk. Verse 4, blessed is the one who righteousness chooses and brings close. And blessed is the one that chooses righteousness and brings that close. So I choose righteousness. I choose goodness. That's why I went and apologized to my son and told him, I apologize for speaking in this kind of way. I need you to know that your cleanliness is going to be a strength to you, not a weakness. So in verse 4, we see that you are blessed when you choose the right path and you choose to dwell in that righteous place. You choose to dwell in the cleanliness, right? And you choose to keep the place clean so others can benefit and have that for themselves as well. You're valuing others above yourself. And you shall be satisfied with the goodness of righteousness house. The sacredness of the temple. Is the temple going to be dirty? No, the temple is going to be clean. So how awesome works. Through these awesome works of cleanliness, righteousness is with I and answers I and is the future for I and I. The future is righteousness. We are going to establish righteousness to all the ends of the earth and of the Father's seas. Okay? Remember, righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. So get on that road. Stop being dirty and stop being unclean. And I told my son, he is going to be the focus. I'm not going to talk about my relationship and my ending of my relation and what happened and blah, blah, blah. That's not going to be the talk anymore. The talk is going to be about keeping yourself in a righteous space. Because we are going to be answered. Righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. The one that is strengthened by righteousness established the mountains, and girding the mountains with might, and stilling the roaring of the seas and the roaring of the waves and the tumult of the peoples. Righteousness is doing that. Righteousness is going. That strength of righteousness is establishing these things. The roaring of the waves, the roaring of the seas, the tumult of the people. Why? So that ones that dwell at the ends of the earth are in awe at the signs of righteousness. When they see the stilling of the waves. Okay? Look at the hurricane season. The islands have been spared so far. So far. All those that dwell at the ends of the earth are in awe. Because righteousness makes the going out of the rise and in the light to shout for joy. So we're shouting for joy as we rise up and as we go to rest. That's why I am really hard on myself about getting up and getting upset at the dirty kitchen. Even though it was one pan that was left out there, it was still got me because I saw a little tiny a pestilence. Okay? We don't want to bring pest or pestilence in our space. So, verse 9, righteousness visits the earth, because that is where that's coming from, to water it, to enrich the earth with rain. The river of God is full of water. The river of righteousness is full of water, providing grain, so it's preparing it, watering in abundance, setting its ridges. So this is agriculture, this is farming, this is growth. Bless the growth, the bounty. I was hearing someone talking about there's a harvest coming up. So because it's getting to be, winter time soon, so we have to harvest a lot of stuff now. The pastures of the wilderness overflow with abundance. The hills are joyful. We see the meadows are clothed with flocks. Yesterday in my Chant A Psalm, I heard the flocks of birds. So we see the valleys are decking themselves with grain, and there's a shout, and people are chanting together for joy. Selah and Selah again. Beautiful. So we see, even though we have, inequities that may prevail against us, that's happened to me. The inequity of my mouth, okay, this unwholesome talk going on about cleaning the kitchen, right? Instead of building my son up, I went off. So I'm glad to look at this Psalm 65 today, because Psalm 65 is beautiful in giving me the strength to deal with my son. Okay? Giving me the strength to deal with my son. And in dealing with my son, I want to be close to righteousness in order to deal with him, so I don't get frustrated, upset, angry, going on, yelling. I don't want that. So I am going to be close to I'm going to stand next to righteousness, okay? Blessed is the one that chooses righteousness and brings it near to them and dwells within that. So even when inequities prevail, because wrongness is going to try to come at you, okay? People say this person gets on their nerve, they're going to come try to get on your nerves. So what do? You build them up according to Ephesians 4:9. 4:9. Build them up according to what they need. Okay? You need to be tidy with your room. So what did I do? I brought in a little desk for him so he can put stuff in it. It's a tub. It's like a bin. So I brought that bin into his room and I said, here's a bin. You can put stuff in the bin or on top of the bin, where you can have your bed cleared and you can sleep on your bed instead of having a bunch of stuff on your bed. So this is what I did to build my son up, because I was wrong. Having unwholesome talk coming out of my mouth, people have done it. People have done it. So when we look at the Psalm today and Psalm 65, we have a tendency to not take accountability. We have to take accountability for our actions and how we deal with other people and how we deal with each other. So the Psalm today, 65, Selah and Selah again. And we are at an hour already, and we are finished. Thank you so much for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. We are, I wanted quickly to look at Max Lucado, though, really quick, for the 18th, September 18th. Oh, no, what is today? The 19th. Oh, today's the 19th already. I will trust righteousness. I will trust my own righteousness, the righteousness of others. So, Psalm 27, verse 3. Oh my gosh. Psalm 27, verse 3. When an army surrounds, I will not be afraid. When war breaks out, I will trust righteousness, the Lord, goodness, mercy, kindness. So that Psalm 27, verse 3, I will trust the goodness of grace and mercy, kindness, compassion, long suffering. When you are in a long suffering, you got to trust it. You got to trust it. Trust the process. Trust the process. And forgiveness. Trust in those attributes that are representative of God, Lord, and Jesus. Right? Now, Max Lucado has a comment. He says, there has never been a time in the history of this globe when there was not a rain cloud somewhere on the earth. There may be blue skies for us occasionally, but the rain always comes. So instead of looking for ways to escape problems, look for methods to face them head on. So instead of escaping the problem of my son and, I'm not going to escape it, it's a problem and we're going to face it together head on. Okay? I had to go to his apartment where he was in the Virgin Islands and help him clean it out. It was a mess. Okay? A mess. So I will trust in righteousness that my son will change his ways and grow into a man that values others and that is not just about being selfish, but values others, and especially valuing the mother. When you disrespect your mother, when you are not adhering to the rules that your mother has laid out, and your mother is helping you, giving you an opportunity, you've been given so much, your mother expects much from you. So anybody out there who has children and they are disrespectful and they're not doing what you're telling them, they're not listening to your words or showing you the actions in that listening, don't go spazzing out like I did this rise. Don't go spazzing out. All you do, don't be afraid, because that's what I felt this rise, to the point where I started crying. Don't be afraid. Trust in righteousness to make it right. Righteousness is going to make it right. Believe you that. It's going to make it right. Selah and Selah again. Thanks so much for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. I am so delighted. It's a wonderful opportunity to be able to chant the psalm and to give thanks to each one of you for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. I really am thankful. I'm asking everybody to lift up my son, lift him up, and in terms of his potential, because he has that potential to be great. However, there's blockages. So I'm asking the righteousness of the Most High to step in. Step in. So when I return for Chant A Psalm, I'll have some updates on my son. Okay? That's my focus, is my son. Nobody else at this moment. Not even myself. Have a blessed day, everyone. for September 19th, living by faith in hard times. This is the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Habakkuk ministers during Judah's death throes. So through repeatedly called to repentance, the nation stubbornly refuses to change its sinful ways. So this is what we talk about with my son. You got to change your ways. Habakkuk there's questions and answers, there's a dialogue, there's a monologue, and there's a devotion. Habakkuk is complaining, righteousness answers, and there's a prayer that Habakkuk the prophet speaks of. And it's a beautiful prayer. It's a beautiful word. So thanks for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. Have a blessed day, everyone. We're looking at the book of Habakkuk for September 19, living by faith in hard times. Have a blessed day.